What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I decided to make another video because there was an article that came out that I found to be really interesting, and so I wanted to go through it. Article comes, it's on CBS Sports, and it reads, Tua Tagovailoa's first NFL start, Tim Tebow gives thoughts and offers advice to his fellow left-handed quarterback. So, real quick, let's note that Tim Tebow's probably not the best guy to be giving advice, considering he was kind of like, you know, one of those first-round busts that we talk about a lot. However, he does actually bring, you know, some interesting and legitimate perspective as a left-handed signal caller, and that is certainly relevant considering the fact that Tua is left-handed, and you know, I think he's the first one to start in the NFL in like the last 5 years or something like that. Anyway, believe it or not, Tim Tebow and Tua Tagovailoa actually have a lot in common. When it comes to playing football, they were both highly successful in college while playing in the SEC. They were both a first-round pick in the NFL, and they're both left-handed. Let's pause right there for just a half a second. So, that right there, and then obviously the further context of how we know things turned out for Tebow, but they do have those things in common, right? So, you know, the left-handed thing, I mean, whatever, you know, it's a physical thing, you're born with that, or, you know, that develops over the course of your life or whatever, however that works, and that's just something that is, right? But when it comes to the success in college, they were both successful, right? Both have, you know, the skill set and whatever to be successful, and they were highly successful, in fact. But when Tebow came into the league, he wasn't ready for it. Now, granted, Tebow probably has issues that you would think Tua doesn't, off-field issues, partying issues. So there's that. So that shouldn't affect Tua. But Tua has the injuries, and Tebow didn't. At least not that I'm aware of. It's certainly not to the level that Tua has. But anyway, so they both had success, but Tebow was a complete failure. So the point here is that, as I've said a million times, not only can you take quarterbacks in the mid to late rounds and be extremely successful with them, but as, you know, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Tom Brady, Breeze, was he taken in the first round? Anyway, so, right, a lot of these guys are not first-round quarterbacks, but obviously play to that, you know, expectation or whatever. And then the list of first-round quarterbacks, Tim Tebow being one of them, that ended up being busts, or you could even count the guys that are just average because they didn't live up to the first-round potential, right? So any of those guys also fall in that category, either busts or just average guys that didn't live up to the first-round status. That list is so much longer than the list of quarterbacks in the first round that end up becoming, you know, superstars, franchise guys, world beaters, whatever, right? And then also because it shows that it doesn't matter how good you did in college. It is actually absolutely irrelevant when it comes to, you know, finally taking snaps in the NFL and playing against the level of competition that comes with playing in the NFL, right? It is completely different than college. Also, too, the schemes and stuff are a lot different. I mean, Tua even said that, you know, he didn't have to fucking do a lot of the checks and stuff at the line of scrimmage like he's going to have to in the NFL. There's so much that's different about it. The speed is so much different, right? The strength and power of these guys is so much different. So, you know, it doesn't fucking matter, man. It doesn't fucking matter. It's context that, you know, helps you to evaluate. But that's why I advocate for quarterbacks sitting their first year, at least their first year. I would even consider multiple years. It just depends on the situation, you know, whatever. And that might even be because my philosophy is take a quarterback every year and 3 or later, but never in rounds 1 or 2. So, you know, if I have a a quarterback that I like that is my starter, right? But I'm drafting a guy every year. Well, one of those quarterbacks, might sit on the bench for a couple years, but then maybe he, the potential that I saw in him grows large enough and he develops, and then maybe he usurps the starter because he's, better than him, right? Anyway, it just depends on the situation and what you have to work with. But, that's my philosophy. And so it doesn't matter what you did in college, right? It does not necessarily translate. And again, it's good evaluation for how you project this guy to be, but then you have to decide how to handle him when you get him, right? And for me, unquestionably, sitting the very first year at a minimum is the way to go. But anyway, okay, let's continue on with this article. As a matter of fact, when Tua makes his first career start in Week 9, he'll become the first left-handed quarterback to start a game since 2015. So 5 years. During an interview with 5 to 6 years going on. During an interview with ESPN on Wednesday, Tebow gave some insight into what it's like to be a left-handed quarterback in the NFL while also offering some advice for the Dolphins' new quarterback. According to Tebow, being a lefty in the NFL isn't always easy because there's almost always an adjustment period for players and coaches. Dude, I'm sorry. I don't care how great the kid could be, might be, whatever. He's going to make mistakes. He's a human being. He's not perfect. He's not fucking God. And especially because he is a lefty, that honestly does create a bit more of a disadvantage. Because the vast majority, he's the first one in 5 years. Okay, 5 years. So obviously, receivers are used to catching the ball from a right-handed quarterback. That does change things when you're catching it from a left-handed quarterback. It's the same concept as kickers, right? So kickers who have rugby-style kicks versus, whatever, right? So the different kinds of kicking styles change things. The way it puts a spin on the ball and stuff like that. It changes things, right? And so there's unquestionably going to, and there's no way he has mastered the entire offense yet, right? So it's impossible to think that he's going to go out and have a flawless game. And especially against the team they are about to play. To me, there couldn't be a worse game to debut Tua. Because he has to face Aaron Donald in that defensive line and Jalen Ramsey in that secondary. And that is going to be... Unfortunately, I think that there is a high probability that this game ends up being a massive, massive disaster. Right? Now, there's some other factors, like they are on a short week and they're having to travel, all the way to South Florida. If it's hot, maybe, they'll start getting worn out because they're going to sit on the side of the field with the sun on them, right? So there's all these other factors that go into it. You never know how officiating plays a role, etc. If they're going to play well, maybe they don't play well. Maybe they fucking lay an egg and we somehow manage to win. There is that possibility. But I think the likelihood is that they get the W, and I think I think he's probably gonna have a very pedestrian stat line, right? I'm hoping that he doesn't, just outright shit the bed and throw a bunch of picks and, get beat up all day. But there is that possibility too, right? I just hope that, at least he has some kind of pedestrian day, if not surprises and fucking balls out. But it's, again, while there is some degree of possibility there, it's just such a long shot. Such a fucking long shot. Anyway, but let's continue on to get more context on what Tebow had to say, because it is important and relevant contextual information for the evaluation process and, determining, how it's going to turn out. Let's see. So I think I used it as a mindset of an advantage, Tebow said, of being left-handed. Schematically, with your coaches and your receivers, it might be a slight disadvantage. So he's saying, in other words, as a mindset, he considers it to be an advantage, but materially, it can be a disadvantage with your receivers and your coaches. But let's continue on. Not enough where I would actually worry about it, but it's enough to where your receivers have to get used to it. So, and look, I agree with that. He says more, but I'll pause for a second because I agree with that, right? Like, down the road, it's probably not going to be an issue at all, right? They're going to get used to it. They're professionals. That's what they do. But that's why it makes now even more concerning, because that's not going to be the case now, and why the argument for redshirting is the case, because then, you know, it'll give him this entire season to really master the playbook, and then it'll give him ample time with his entire team, and then next year when he's expected to actually start, he'll be taking full first team reps, but already have a bit of a rapport with his guys, and then it'll be a lot smoother. There won't be that adjustment period can happen in the off season, right? As opposed to in the middle of the season when you're hoping to make the playoffs and possibly take the division, right? And all these other things. It makes so much more sense to do it then than do it right now. Because it's going to be there. When there's offensive line and defensive line running around your quarterback and you're throwing a slant pattern or a crossing route, they kinda see it coming from a certain place. So receivers have to get used to it coming from a different angle and a different place when they're looking back at the quarterback, right? Abso-fucking-lutely. So think about that, right? And that's why I said it changes the angles and the trajectories of these passes. It's so different, so much different. As a matter of fact, thinking back on it, I don't know how much it really had anything to do with it, but that one pass that Tua did throw in the Jets game at the very end to Patrick Laird, it ended up being, Patrick Laird ran a route out to the left of the formation, out kind of into the flat, short pass towards the out of bounds, right? And, Tua rolled out to his left and threw him the ball with two defenders bearing down on him, which was scary, and he got the completion. But he threw it to the back shoulder that's closer to the sideline. So he had to do this, he had to spin around, catch the ball, and then he was falling backwards and stuff as he was going, right? So he's probably not used to having to play with Tua and the ways that it changes the delivery and so on and so forth of his passes. Like I said, I don't know that it necessarily even had that much to play in that particular case. More expert minds would have to give a determination on that. But it's just interesting to think about. Anyway, although Tebow hasn't played in the NFL since 2012, he has been covering football, and based on what he's seen, he's been highly impressed with the former Alabama quarterback. I've seen every game Tua has played in college, Tebow said. I think what gives Tua an advantage has nothing to do with which hand he throws it with. It has to do with the way he throws it. I think he's the most pure thrower of the football I have ever seen on the college level, and I've had a chance to watch a lot of really good ones, and it's not to take anything away from those guys. So, again, I don't know that Tebow's exactly the best guy to, I'm not sure he's the foremost expert on this, even though he was a quarterback in the NFL and did well in college and everything. But, he didn't do well in the NFL. So, that's part of his resume. But then again, to also be fair, a lot of the experts are, kind of morons too. So, who knows? Maybe he's, all the way there. Although a lot of the experts also agree with that. And look, he's a talented guy. Nobody's saying that he isn't. But he's a rookie. And there's going to be other things, that play factors into how things play out. And it's going to be a challenge at least. Apparently, Tua has the ability to do the kinds of things that we usually only see from Patrick Mahomes. Okay, Tua has a special gift to throw the football from different angles, to throw it with velocity, but also so catchable, on time, and in rhythm. Tebow said he just has a unique feel and gift, and it is incredible to watch him. He will go through practices and warm-ups where it doesn't even come close to being an incomplete pass. Every ball will be right on the money. So, okay, well, that's why it's going to be a really great fucking challenge for him against the Rams, because again, this is going to be the first time. They did just lose, I believe he's one of their safeties, Burgess, but one of their starters to injury in this past game. But other than that, they have they remained, relatively healthy in that game, and they're gonna have, he's gonna play, that vaunted defensive front led by Aaron Donald, who's going to cause fucking problems for our offensive line. He causes problems for every offensive line. Doesn't matter who you are, everyone. So he's going to cause problems for this offensive line. And then Jalen Ramsey leads that secondary, which is pretty good as well. And their linebackers aren't nothing to fucking, snuff at either. So it's going to be a very, very tough game for him. But look, I mean, again, the talent's not the question. So, if he is that special, then you would think that increases the chance that he could shock, right, everybody, and come out there and just like completely ball out and get a win, especially if they come, on a short week traveling from LA to Florida, and they don't play well, right? And if they, kind of wilt in the heat and so on and so forth. If they don't play well, and, if they have a bunch of penalties and Tua and the Dolphins come out and ball, they could get a win, right? And shock the world and so on and so forth. But it's certainly by no means a guarantee that that's going to happen, right? Like, a lot of people think that, oh my God, he's going to be the second coming of Dan Marino or Bob Greasy or whatever the fuck. And, he's going to, or the second coming of Patrick Mahomes, whatever. And he's just going to go out there and just simply because he has the talent, he's going to fucking ball out. That's not the case, bro. And people seem to think that he's like impervious to rookie mistakes because he's so talented. Like, again, not the case. So, we'll see how it plays out, but it really could go either way, and it could go to either extreme, right? Again, he could just completely ball out, and maybe they, maybe they don't play well, and we just dominate them, right? There is some chance of that. I don't think personally it's very high, but there is some chance of that. And there is also some chance that the opposite happens and, he doesn't play well and the Dolphins get destroyed, right? So we'll have to see. Hopefully it's someplace more in the middle. I like to see competitive games no matter what. So hopefully it at least stays competitive and stays close, but we will find out on Sunday. Let's see. So when Tua takes the field in Week 9, he'll be trying to eventually do something that no left-handed hander has done since Tebow, win an NFL playoff game. With Tua's career getting set to lift off, Tebow offered some advice for his fellow lefty. My piece of advice to Tua is continue to do what you've done your entire life that's made you different and made you special. Tebow said, yeah, sure, a piece of that is being left-handed, so you're awesome, Tua, but what makes you even more awesome is the type of person that you are, the way you care for people, the way you lead your team. So, I mean, give him credit, because I think he realizes that he was not that guy. It's, yes, you throw an amazing pass and you're a great competitor and you were great in clutch moments, but what set him apart and why I think he has a chance to be great in the NFL is because he's not just an elite passer, he's not just an elite quarterback, he's an elite person. The Dolphins will be hoping that all that eliteness translates to the field. Tua's first start will be coming on November 1st when the Dolphins host the Los Angeles Rams. So, and bro, again, I hope, and I think that this is probably the worst game that they could have thrown him into the fire for, and it's gonna be a fucking challenge. So hopefully all goes well. I mean, even if they lose, even if they get just absolutely destroyed, the most important thing is that they stay healthy. So even if that ends up being the eventuality, I just want all the guys to stay healthy, and especially him, because I'm not even going to say that, because I don't play into the quarterback. I was going to say because he's the franchise guy and everybody's, but I honestly don't care about that because I do want them to, because ultimately they can think he's the franchise guy and then improperly build a team around him and then fuck his career that way, which they did for Ryan Tannehill's first 7 years. So, you know, I just don't prescribe to that. I just want him to stay healthy and I want him to perform, but I also want them to make the right decisions as an organization to do things that are going to put him and the team in the best position to be successful. And I haven't seen anything that shows me yet that they are doing that. And in fact, I believe, you know, that their decisions are going to prove detrimental overall in the long run. So we'll see. It's going to be a very, very interesting game on Sunday, and obviously I'm going to be doing a live stream for it, so make sure you guys join me for that. Also, I still haven't heard anything back from him, but again, I did get an invite to do a like collaboration thing, show, whatever, with TD after that game, so... You know, like I said, I mean, it's Thursday now. I haven't heard anything back yet, so I'm not sure if it's going on. But if it is, that would be cool, and we'll, you know, get to that. Anyway, so make sure you join me, though, regardless, for the stream, because it's gonna be a crazy game. It's gonna be a tough challenge, and it's gonna be interesting to see the final result, regardless of what ends up happening. So... Alright, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspectives. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.